102K BTC. Things are looking nice and spicy out there. These alts are absolutely ripping at the moment, but are we going to fall into the ultimate trap here and get absolutely rugged by these guys? So guys, today we're covering tons of these alts that have pumped. I've got a special guest. We got longs, we got shorts, we got everything for you on a Friday. Let's get right into it. And remember, guys, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. I'm here pretty much every single day, banter. Plus, you can catch me doing this type of work. Now, I've got a special guest coming in hot. He's my local gun in chart hackers. Look at that shirt. Fuck, I'm loving that shirt. He's coming in. He's got a long, he's got a short for you guys. So, subject to likes, obviously make him happy. We've got Mr. Bullish here. Are we bullish yet, bro? Or are we bearish?
We are bullish, but just not today.
Not today. Okay. I'm waiting for the day where James comes out and says, today I'm bullish. Okay. I'm waiting for that day. I'm waiting. Doc is shorting now. Doc, I don't think it's the worst plan I've ever seen. Okay. We got a lot to talk about here, guys. Really. I've got so many altcoins for you. Get your notepads out, get your notebooks ready, get your charts ready, guys. I got so much going on here. Okay. Let's talk banter bubble. Trevor, hello, bro. Welcome to the party. Okay. Good to have you in hackers. Look, everything's cooking at the moment. Floki, one of the burners, Peppy, 27%. That is obviously partly due to this ETH strength. It's insane what is going on at the moment. It's far exceeded my expectation. I mean, this morning we were driving around, literally messing around at gym, messing around in the car, catching breakout trades. It was actually getting a little bit stupid today, and that was making me a little bit concerned as to what happens next in the market. So let's get into BTC. Let's get into BTC here on the 1 hour. I've dialed in for you guys because I just want to break this down as much as I can and just give you my thoughts at the moment as to where we are. So right now you can see what's going on. Bitcoin is consolidating a little bit after a double top, and we got a little bit of action here at the moment while the market decides what happens next. So what I am picking up on lower time frames is reversals. You can see we're printing tons of bearish divergence and all these types of things, and we got the cash flow pushing lower. So this tells me we may get some kind of short move to the downside on BTC. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but the signs are there that there could be some weakness here on BTC. Now, if that happens, there's a couple of big levels that I am paying attention to. Now, the first one is obviously the crazy degen level, and that's the emergency 236 fib that you can pull out when things are ultimately bullish. So we've yanked that one out, 101,700. Watch that area there. You might get some kind of wick onto that area for a bounce. 101,700. That is interesting, or an interesting zone to me. Then I've got my next big level, and this is a huge zone. It's this whole area over here. And why is that important to me? Well, this was the big resistance band that we were watching for absolute days and weeks. As a major resistance point for BTC. Now we have actually flipped that. So there's a very strong possibility if we come back for a retest on a major weekly level that we get a strong bounce out of that zone. So I've broken it down into the 1 hour for you guys, and I just want to show you points of confluence here. I've got 382, I've got my VWAP from the lows as well, and I've got my 0.5. So this whole region makes sense to me. 100K to 99K, anywhere in this box makes a lot of sense to me on some kind of short-term dip here in the market, and potentially a nice buy zone for BTC if this big level is actually going to hold. So those are the downside areas that make sense to me leading into this weekend. Obviously, if things get a little bit messier than those levels, we'll break it down on Sunday. I'm going to be doing my Sunday night show as well for you guys. That's going to be on the Banter main channel. So we'll obviously cover that, and we'll break down whatever has happened on the weekend. So whether we've pumped or dumped, we'll make sure you guys are covered. And just one more emergency level here for you guys, 97,500. That is clean. Look at that thing. It's our 618. It's our horizontals looking fun if they do bleed us pretty hard down there. There it is, sir. Nikhil, I swear I don't push this bullhorn enough, especially considering the conditions that we find ourselves in. Okay, H2 Bull is in the house as well. Hello, sir. Okay, so guys, that is the downside situation for me on BTC. Now, in terms of upside, I just want to go to the bigger chart for you. This is the daily, and there's a couple of interesting things happening here. Right now, we know this is a danger zone where Bitcoin is right now. So it's floating around quite a big daily level here, and we could easily just get some kind of BART situation and then dump this thing lower down. So that is one of my concerns at the moment with BTC. If there is a secondary push this weekend. Obviously, these alts are going to pump again and things could get a little bit fun. You're going to be trading breakouts, and that is another thing that I'm going to teach you today. For those of you that don't know a breakout strategy or don't have a breakout strategy, I'm going to show you how to trade a breakout. Okay, I'm going to teach you, because sometimes we got to pull this out of our armory and be ready to trade breakouts like this morning I did, for example. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And then in terms of BTC, if we do get a breakout, we know these alts will start pumping. What I want to present to you guys is all-time highs. This whole region here, 106 to 109. This for me is a trouble zone as well. And by then we should be printing some kind of bearish divergence on this daily as well. So we just got to watch. We got to watch the signs this weekend. Remember, we're going to use these tools, and they guide us to, you know, how we make a decision. So when you watch the show, you know I'm using a ton of tools, and it helps me make decisions on certain areas. And obviously sometimes we get it wrong, but if we use this information consistently, then we can be consistent. Okay, breakout or fake out, we will take it all, says Make Money Travel Enjoy. Welcome to the show. Okay, let's go. Let's get into some fun shit. Okay, let's start with that. Crypto guys this morning, who was enjoying this? I mean, this really took me by surprise, this extra little pump we had this morning. Looks like Father Christmas, this guy. Are we gonna watch a minute of this? Let's speed this up here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's make this guy good. Here we go. It is time, guys. It is time. That was us this morning. Well, it was only applicable to those of you that took profit this morning. Okay, it was only applicable to you guys. And I must say, I got a piece of that profit this morning, and I immediately sent out the call, and I said, it's handbag season. Go to Gucci today and buy a handbag. And that's what I did. I followed through, but she doesn't know how to spell Gucci. She spelled it LV earlier today. But anyway, nonetheless, the market pays, and make sure that you take some profit so you can enjoy those moments and not be part of the $1 billion 24-hour wrecked situation going down here. 1 billion, James. These are your types of numbers now. Now we good.
That's the way.
That's what he likes to see. These are big numbers. We're going to pump that up. Okay. So guys, this is shorters obviously getting rinsed, and this is now longs also getting a little bit rinsed now, because what happens is everybody gets euphoric and they start going 50x, 30x, 100x, and I've already seen it in the chats. Okay, we're all guilty of doing that stuff when we get a little bit euphoric, and $1 billion lickies. Okay, so things are getting a bit hurt at the moment. And for those of you who are feeling good, how many times have you checked your portfolio today? Let's confirm.
50 times?
More.
100 times?
More.
200 times?
More.
500 times?
Probably.
Okay, guys. So what I want to say is, if you're feeling euphoric and you keep checking, check yourself. Okay, check yourself. Take those profits. Trump says 80% tariff on China seems right. Okay, it's up to Scotty B. And then we saw what else came out here, that Trump may actually drop the China tariffs. Okay, whispers in DC say Trump's team is quietly plotting to nuke the sky-high tariffs. Retail giants are already tweaking price tags like it's Black Friday in Beijing, with one juicy number 54% getting tossed around. Yes, sir.
Now that's bullish.
That is pretty bullish. Okay,
we get
and
that long everything bullish from here on out. That's it. No more
unless
bear.
it's priced in. Unless it's priced in. Unless it's priced in with the altcoins, guys. I just want to say. But look, the stuff's going, and there's rumors floating around that we could be good. A big marker for us. Again, no changes to this. The 200-day moving average on the S&P is a big deal for me. I want to see this thing broken. I want to see this thing cleaned out. If we get cleaned out there, then I think these markets are going to churn. Okay, and then we're going to get some proper rippage out of these things. And James says he's only 42% down now. Well, look, guys, a pump is better than no pump. So for me, the 200-day MA is still a massive factor on the S&P, 5,750. As long as we are under this, we need to be careful. We can see we got bearish divergence as well, and no guarantees yet, you know. So let's keep our eyes on this. This is going to be a big guide for us for sentiment as a whole in the markets. Now, obviously, whenever Bitcoin wakes up, everybody wakes up again, and they start posting this chart. And you can see Bitcoin is now number 5 in the rankings, okay, of market cap size, 2 trillion. We've got gold at 22, Microsoft 3, Apple 2.9, and we've got NVIDIA at 2.8. So Bitcoin is back on the map and getting excited again. And let's talk about gold. So yesterday, what I was saying to you guys, if this S&P keeps moving, the Nasdaq keeps moving, and crypto keeps pumping, we should see gold dropping to lower levels. So right now, there's no changes. I'm still waiting. You can see we had a dip onto our VWAP from the lows. I mean, a beautiful little ping of that zone ties in with horizontal. So a reasonable level to get some kind of bounce. But in terms of what I'm looking for, as long as there's strength in crypto and the S&P, we should see gold drifting lower. So I'm still waiting patiently for an entry. I do suspect we're going to get something in this type of region. And that is, for me, from 3,250 down to 3,200 makes a lot of sense to me for some kind of bounce trade. And then if the markets continue ripping, I think we get another opportunity at around about 3,150 down to 3,110, give or take. Now, that would be an absolute banger trade, and we're going to trade that one on BTCC. So when the time is ready, we're going to send some crypto there, and we're going to lock it in on BTCC. And obviously, we can trade the Nasdaq. You can see this is it here, the Tech 100, and we can trade all these other stocks as well. So you can just go into the show description, get locked and loaded, get ready on BTCC, and when the time is right, we're going to push the right buttons. Okay, so waiting for gold to settle. Let's see how that plays out. And then in terms of NVIDIA, you can see we are still below trend. There was a little bit of bullish news around this over the last couple of days. And we are still under the very important 200-day moving average. And we know these TradFi guys love that 200-day MA. And when we break above that, we get hot and we get excited. And if we are below that, we just need to be a little bit more cautious. So NVIDIA at trend at the moment. If we get a trend break, it would be interesting to see a rejection around about 127. And that's going to give us an opportunity to look for longs at about 110, give or take, on some kind of retest. Okay, so that's going to be pretty fun. And EJ says, I'm expecting China deal before Monday. Well, guys, yes. I mean, okay, so if the China deal comes out.
Well, and they are negotiating this weekend, right? They're meeting in Switzerland tomorrow, right? That's been properly announced. The president of Switzerland just came in and confirmed that too. That's actually happening. So I would be surprised if there's a deal out this weekend, but that's good news either way.
Okay, so listen to this. If there's news this weekend, you're going to get some kind of guard candle out of the market. Okay, it's going to rip very hard. What I would suggest, another opportunity, take profits again. Okay, or look for some head shorts at some key levels if you get some kind of pump out of the market. Okay, and breaking news makes the trades. Yes, there we go. Okay, so guys, just be careful. Okay, and I lectured the hackers earlier today quite a lot and told them to take profits. I hope they weren't too upset with me, but the message from me to you is super clear. This isn't my first rodeo. We've been involved in tons of these pumps. And how many times have you been involved in a pump where you get a reversal and everything falls over and you didn't take enough profits, and then you end up what did we say, flashing your P&Ls? What was it? What was that chirp the other day? Something amazing. Anyway, just make sure it's not just the story. Okay, make sure you do bank something along the way. And for me personally, I've closed a lot of my longs. I've got a couple of head shorts running that I'm going to talk to you about. David's got a head short for you guys as well coming in today, and we're also going to cover you for some longs. Okay, so there's Chaos saying we pay ourselves in hackers. Okay, so guys, that's the game plan in terms of that. Now, let's get into a couple of important things. One of the ones we want to pay attention to is the liquidation heat map. And you can see all the fun on the weekly is now to the downside. If you were a market maker and you wanted to have some fun, what would make sense to you? Well, some kind of Trump headline, pump Bitcoin into this 105 region. You can see there's some liquidity up there, and then maybe send everybody to hell and give us a miserable next week down to 93K. So just using that as a guide, that's pretty handy. You know, you can see where the fun zone is. You can see where the money makers are for the guys. So pay attention to that. And I mean, there's a nice little level here at 98,600. That looks cute. And everything down to even 97 could be a reasonable bouncer. We might not go there in a straight line. So you might get bounce opportunities. Now, the first thing I want to warn you guys about, and my tile says today, a trap, possible trap. Well, it's not really a trap. It's just really controlling your euphoria and controlling your FOMO. And the way you can do this is by paying attention to some basic stuff out there. And this is the crypto market RSI heat map on the 4 hour. And once again, I'm bringing this to you saying, guys, make sure you're taking profits. These things are sitting in the most overbought possible place on this chart. And remember how successful we were when we were at the most oversold regions, banking those longs or getting those longs. We are now in the danger zone. This says maybe some breakout trades, maybe some scalps and things like that to the upside if we do get a couple of moves. But this is telling me that at some point this needs to reset, and this could create a little bit of chop in the upside. So if you are running super tight stops trying to trade breakouts, you might find yourself getting chopped out of things a couple of times before there's a move, and then get frustrated, and then after all of that it starts falling over and this drifts down. So I just want to warn you guys, there's danger signs out there, and that is not the only danger sign that I have. I've got another one for you guys, and this is USDT dominance. Now, USDT dominance basically tells us where the money is flowing. So if it's flowing into USDT dominance, it's mean they're moving money out of crypto into the stables, and that's sort of a safety. Okay, so when that's going up, the crypto market is going down, and when this is going down, obviously the alts are pumping, Bitcoin is pumping, and everybody is happy. So what I want to point out here is USDT dominance has landed on a typical bounce zone, okay, or a reaction zone here for us. Why is this interesting to me? It's the 200-day MA, it's a 618 fib, it's a ton of horizontals in this region. You can see even that lower band over there is a possible bounce zone. So this is market danger, bounce zone. Be cautious in this level. Understand where you are. If you've made some money, understand in the context of this move, that maybe this move might be risk reward starting to just tone down a little bit in terms of longs. And then another thing here, looking for a reversal on this oscillator, and we're most likely going to print bullish divergence or something like that, and then get some kind of bounce potentially. So I just want to highlight that. And then this weekend, if we do start losing this level, just be prepared. Let's say this weekend we start losing this level, alts start pumping, you catch a couple of breakout trades. Well, what's going to happen typically is this is going to now drop lower down. You might get an accelerated euphoric move out of the market this weekend, print tons of money. When the USDT dominance hits this zone down here, 3.8%, put that alarm on your trading view, 3.8%. If it hits that, guys, I would be super careful with what I am doing in those types of levels. James, do you concur, sir?
100%. 100%.
Okay. Inverse bull on that level. Do you concur, sir?
I concur. Yes.
Yeah, as long as everyone concurs. Okay. So we're going to carry on. So Dave's bringing us some action just now. I'm actually very excited. I'm actually in one of his setups, and yesterday I think he dropped the setup in Chart Hackers, and he gave me a limit order, and I just set the limit order, and it hit. Okay, just like that. It's magic. So if you trade with Dave, he's got his own businesses, he's got his own stuff. He doesn't trade all day long. He identifies a couple of absolute bangers during the week, and he drops them in Chart Hackers, and you get your limit orders, you get your stop losses. You get the whole story. So he's the gun there. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that just now. And he's also very good looking. Okay, so it's a bonus, obviously, that works for him with that bullish shirt. Okay, so USDT dominance. You can see my concern here from that perspective. Then we've got Old Faithful, which is Bitcoin dominance, and this is Bitcoin versus the altcoins, guys. And again, using very simple TA here, we can see that Bitcoin dominance dropped into the 50-day MA, it dropped into a horizontal zone, it dropped into a rising trend. Look at that absolute banger zone there, and this is typical TA zone where you get a bounce. Now, when you get a bounce there, that often means that the altcoins are going to start rejecting and money flows back into BTC. Okay, so that is why this is going on now for you guys. And where can you get a possible altcoin bounce? Well, you can see not there anymore. We've broken through. So your next altcoin bounce potentially for me makes sense is if dominance pushes up now, these alts bleed a little bit more, and then we get a rejection this weekend on dominance, and that thing starts breaking down. So that should give you some kind of alts pump. And hopefully some of these setups that we're going to show you for potential longs might come into play for some bounces on any pullbacks that we may get in the market while this ride happens for us. Okay, so that is the summary of where I think we are in the market. And I know some of you guys are looking for trading options. Maybe some of you guys got rinsed in the markets. Well, I must remind you, and I haven't spoken about this in a very long time, if you want to try something different in terms of leverage trading, you can try Bitfunded. This is basically prop funded trading account. What happens is you buy a demo account from them, then you make 8% phase 1, 5% phase 2, and if you pass that challenge, they give you a real money account. Now, you can get everything from a $79 package that gives you a $5,000 account to a $100,000 account from these guys. And what they want to do for you guys this weekend, because the market's been ripping now, is give you buy one, get one free situation here on Bitfunded. So you can see I've still got 2 funded accounts. So I've passed these tests on these things, and these accounts are ready to trade. This is real money now, locked and loaded for me. And for me, I have dropped a strategy in Chart Hackers on how I pass the Bitfunded challenges. It's quite simple, but there's a strategy in Hackers for you in our education zone that is sitting there for you guys. So if you are interested, you know what to do. Now, I think I need to close this tweet. I don't think I can use this anymore. I mean, am I allowed to use this? I don't know, James. Let's close it. Done. Okay, it's gone. We're no longer talking about ETH as dog shit. ETH has now arrived. Okay, it's now arrived at the dinner table, and ETH is now presenting. So, CryptoB says this trader lost 4.7 million in under 8 hours shorting ETH. Rinsed. Okay, inverse bull. Okay, from 5 million to 300K. Now, I don't know if the guy's life is ruined. I mean, that's a little bit fucking dramatic. I mean, we've all got rinsed on a trade. I mean, it's also all relative here in terms of what this guy has lost. But anyway, this guy got caned. Okay, but maybe he wasn't watching the show. Okay, so let's go. Let's take a look. Trump bought $3.5 million. Maybe he should have been following Ted. Because if Trump bought $3.5 million, obviously that has helped this market pump a shit ton as well. So ETH is now really starting to look like an absolute stinker at the moment after that pumpage. I mean, it's taken me by absolute surprise. I mean, we knew it was going to move, but I mean, we didn't know it was going to move, if you know what I mean. So, yes,
he did tell us to buy yesterday, right? Last time he told us to buy, things ripped. He told us again yesterday. So, yeah, you probably shouldn't short.
He did. When Donald says buy, I suppose you have to buy. I mean, but the S&P didn't move, eh?
Just don't listen to his son. Just listen to the boss.
He's got a bad hit rate. I think the son's on like what? He's about a 1 out of 3. His hit rate.
Eric loses all the time. That's an inverse. Yeah.
Okay, that's an inverse bull. Okay. Well, let's go ETH, guys. So after this drama over the last couple of days, I'm sure all the ETH bulls are very happy at the moment, and now things are looking interesting for us on ETH. So I was talking about this earlier today on the Hackers private Zoom that we do for the guys. We've got a simple system on all the altcoins. What has happened over the last couple of weeks is you blow the 50-day, then you get some kind of retest or whatever, then you blow the 100-day, and then you blow the 200-day. Okay, so there's a lot of blowing going on here, and 50-day, 100-day, 200-day is looking like the simple game plan here on these altcoins. So a lot of the alts still have to go to the 200-day, and that is why I think there's potential for a move on these alts to still go to that 200-day MA. So I'm not saying we need to short these things to zero. What I'm saying here is today, 200-day MA is a target, but there may be a situation where we might bleed out a little bit or calm down while things settle. The one caveat I do have for you guys, if there's a Trump deal announced this weekend, what I suggest to you, get out ETH, get out Sol, get out Sui, or whatever hasn't hit the 200-day MA, and that is going to be most likely a profit target for you on any hard pumps that you're going to see out of the market. Okay, so upside targets for me on ETH at the moment, you can see what's going on, 2,550, 2,700, 2,870. Those are the big upside targets for me on ETH. And in terms of how do we get a bounce, how do we play this thing? Well, if you want to have a crack on ETH, look for 2,220. That makes sense to me. We've got our bullish 236. It's a degen play, obviously, but you can see we've got some nice cluster support as well in that region. And then a little bit lower down, I'm seeing this all over the place. 100-day MA confluence with horizontals and 382 fibs giving us extra support on a lot of these altcoins. Look how this is tying in here so nicely for us. So 2,065 for ETH also looks very good here in terms of potential longs. Now we'll have to see how deep they take it, if they do take it. But for me, those are the percentage plays in terms of ETH if you're looking for a little bit of action this weekend. So 2,220, 2,065 make the most sense to me. And remember, all these charts, guys, they go straight into Chart Hackers. Okay, directly after the show, you can find it there and all the fun stuff. And can we say alt season now? Oh, PMG George, alt season used to last, I don't know, what, a month or 3? So I think let's have this conversation if we're still pumping after 2 weeks. Okay, let's have that conversation. Right now, it's been an alt an alt few hours. Okay, I mean, from the 7th of May, it's been an alt 2 days. Okay, so let's see how we go. Now, in terms of my current game plan, this is me in L-Bank. I've closed a lot of longs, and you can see I've got 𝗬𝗎 short open now. I'm going to talk about that. And that was thanks to Anna, actually, in Chart Hackers. She reminded me about a 𝗬𝗎 area that looked good to us yesterday. So that was there. And then I've got an S short that I've started. I do suspect we're going to get one more pump out of S. So I'm going to give you that full short setup for you guys. And then I'm holding SOL at the bottom here. That thing's cooking. No intention to close it just yet. Okay, so I believe SOL is going to go to 180, maybe higher than that. And with that in mind, this might be an opportunity to add a little bit to that SOL position. Okay, so that is what I've got going on there. And then in terms of Ali charts, he's saying SOL clearing the $200 mark could spark a massive bull run. Okay, that's cool, but I'd like to clear the 200-day MA first, if you don't mind. So we're both on the same page about 200. They're just different things. So right now for me, this is SOL on the 3-day, and you can see this is still my bearish chart. And there were a couple of zones here where I was expecting possible rejections, and you can see we get reactions in these types of areas. And now SOL is moving into quite a big zone here for me, and that is up to 180. So when I say I'm expecting SOL to go to 180, that makes a lot of sense for me in terms of that 200-day moving average pushing into that zone. If it goes beyond that, guys, I mean, there's going to be tons of new fresh trades there and all sorts of things. We're going to have lots of time on our hands to play this game. But in terms of where we are in this context, I would say 180, I would start getting cautious on SOL, even a push to 188 maybe, but I wouldn't go much harder than those types of levels. So what I've done for you guys is broken this down into a 2-hour degen situation. And this basically tells us, you know, if we're looking for the last few kicks of a dying horse, geez, I say that a lot. But if we're looking for those types of moves here out of a pumping market, just be aware of the signs and be aware of what we can see in front of us. We've got bearish divergence here already printing. And what happens when you get divergence? Just a reminder, we had bullish divergence there. And what happened to the market? The market pumped up. Now we're getting bearish divergence here. And this just tells us again, just read the context, understand where we are, and start maybe being smaller or start being less aggressive with your positions. If we were aggressive down here, let's be less aggressive up here if you're trying to be long. Okay, so that's all my advice that I can give you guys in terms of that. So in terms of SOL dropping lower now, there's an interesting zone. I've marked this as 3-day support zone. So this whole region, 163 down to 159, just to give you the context, this is this daily level that you see over here, okay, for SOL, and we can potentially use that as bullish support if we want to get some kind of push to the upside. Okay, so you can see now SOL is bleeding down, and the big zone for me, 162 down to 159, that makes sense for me for a degen play, and your risk will be about 2.7% for a possible long into 180. Okay, now typically, if you are going to get an announcement this weekend, this is just my gut feeling here, you might see a bleed out into the announcement. And it's going to be no coincidence that the alts are going to bounce off 382s or 618s or whatever they're dishing out. And there's going to be some grand announcement and things are going to pop into big resistance zones. So look out for these types of areas. They make sense to me for some longs. Okay, but remember, things are hot. These are now getting sketchy. Okay, they're sketchy longs at the moment. And then in terms of shorts, this is the first area I would start looking at for SOL. 180 makes a lot of sense to me up there. Okay, so pay attention to that guy if this does push a little bit higher. Okay, so you got the plan. If you do need an emergency level, if shit really hits the fan, guys, you can see I've got nice tie in here, horizontals and those types of things, but that means we have lost our 3-day level. So that might come with some different complications. Okay, so 154 down to 151 can be your backup zone there on SOL. Okay, so there's a wrap on SOL for you guys. Dave, are you okay there, bro? Is everything fine?
Everything's good, man.
We've got a new member in Chart Hackers. His name is Bass, and he literally joined like today or yesterday. And he actually asked in the chats earlier today, can somebody chart XRP, because he wants to know where to take profits and stuff. So I've assigned Dave to that. And he's busy charting XRP for Bass in Hackers as we speak. Okay, so we're going to bring that up in a couple of minutes as well. Dave, hang with me, bro. Hang with me. Enjoy the vibe. Okay, here we go. Let's talk let's talk 𝗬𝗍. Why am I sitting in a 𝗬𝗍 short? So there's a couple of things to see here. And number one is this has finally hit our big short zone that we identified quite a while back. And we've actually now come and revisited that area. So what I've done for 𝗬𝗍 on the 8 hour is I've identified 3 major zones where I suspect you could get a rejection or a reaction if the market pumps. Now, if we use these zones and we are sitting in longs, we can also be guided as to use these as take profit zones or TP zones. So anybody trying to scalp 𝗬𝗍 for some last few moves to the upside, these are your typical areas of danger. So the first one is, you can see here 4.07. The next one is 4.25, and the next one is 4.6. That type of region to the upside. So those are your bigger context, bigger picture rejection zones on 𝗬𝗍. So I would be super careful up there for any pumps. And you can see this is a typical zone and it's hitting this area and now it's starting to turn a little bit red. It doesn't mean it's sending us to zero. This is just one of those areas where we can make rational decisions when we hit those zones and we can start, the market tends to slow things down in those areas. Okay, so 𝗬𝗍, danger zones to the upside you've got. Then in terms of degen stuff. Now, I promised you I was going to show you how to trade a breakout. And I actually gave this setup earlier today in Chart Hackers, but it didn't even materialize into an entry. So what I want to do is break this down for you guys and just show you how I typically do it. And obviously everybody could have a different style or different technique as to how they trade these breakout trades. But the long and the short of it, this stuff is pretty risky. And, often when you're trading breakouts, a lot of the guys in Hackers or people that watch my show already have entries from these reversal levels at the lows. So these breakouts become secondary trades for us, and they also become areas where we can add on to momentum in the market. So what I typically look for, and Dave, I'm happy for if you've got another technique as well. What I typically look for, guys, is a move into the horizontal. So we want to see this alt start pushing into that region. When it starts sticking its head through that horizontal, I start sniffing around, okay? I start buying little bits. And then what typically happens is on a breakout is you get a pop through and you typically get a rejection at some kind of horizontal region. So you might get a little burst through that, and then you're going to get some kind of pullback. Now, your job is really to make sure that pullback comes back to around about a 382, at worst case a 618 fib. Okay, so that is what you need to watch. So I'm going to highlight that for you guys. And you don't want this thing to lose, typically I don't want to lose that 382. So typically what happens is you get this next move back down. This gives you an opportunity to buy some more. And this also tells you that if we dip below there, this might be a failed breakout or a fake out or a deviation or whatever you want to call it. And then all bets are off and these things start drifting lower. So for me, I nibble when it's pushing. Okay, then you come back down and you get this nice little pop, generally off that type of level. Now, often that is going to be below the breakout candle. You're going to find when it breaks out, you're going to get a very strong candle to the upside. And what you can use is the low of the breakout candle, preferably on, say, a 30 minutes or something like that. You're going to use that low as your exit plan, or alternatively, you're going to use the previous low as your exit plan on the breakout. Okay, so I hope I've explained that concisely. That's quite a big word. I mean, does that make sense to you? Do you do anything differently on those? Or do you just go balls to the wall?
No, I mean, that's, wait for that breakout, wait for the retest of the horizontal. And if you start to lose the horizontal, get out. It's very simple.
There you go, guys. It's simple. I mean, it sounds complicated when you're first learning how to do it, but it's actually really a simple thing. You push buttons when it's going up. Then when it's coming down, you push buttons again, but in a strategic area. And if it loses a strategic area, you stop pushing buttons, okay? And then you get out, okay? So Diogo says, what's the TP on the 𝗬𝗍 short? Okay, so Diogo, how you can typically find your TP zone on a short is you're going to go to, you can start with a local low. So go on the 6th of May, and we're just going to look for some typical bounce zones for this thing. So TP zone 1, 372, TP zone 3, 3.5. Okay, that makes the most sense to me. And that is with a bullish bias saying 𝗬𝗍 must print a new high and we must go into these types of areas. Okay, so that is kind of how I would look at that. Okay, let's go. Let's actually hand over to Dave. Let's hand over to Dave. Let's look at some fun stuff. Yeah, I see you've got your screen up here. Let's pull this thing up here quickly. Let's take that away.
Did you want me to cover that XRP right quick?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this for Bass. So our new hacker member, welcome, sir. Let's sort him out with some XRP things. And I'm sure James is very interested as well.
Yeah, no, so like we have this macro downtrend here, and you can see that we've rejected off of it and confirmed this trend line. It also makes sense that we have rejected here because of the point of control. So I've got a fixed range pull here, but XRP hasn't really, based on like the market pump, didn't really see explosions like some of these guys with 20-30% rips, but nice little 10% pump. The key here now is if we do see dominance come down on Bitcoin and we see some more action here with XRP, we really need to break this level, right? And there's a chance that we might hit this again and then do a round trip, right? So your entry is basically at 217 is from what I was told. So probably need to pay yourself right here. Now we break trend, right? We're looking at an anchored VWAP from the all-time highs. So that could be a rejection zone. This was a deviation, but you can see price action was always underneath the blue line here, right? So there's another chance that if we get a pop-up here that we do reject here, right? So that's why I put TP. So make sure you take profits at 251 if price action finds its way there. And then the bull case would be we make our way up here towards this 277 region, which is a 786 fib retracement from this last lower high before the bigger dump. So this also value area high from this fixed range pull. So we got two things here saying that this might be the top. Okay. So, kind of some basic TA there, but in summary, 250 and 275, we might not even make it there. So make sure to pay yourself at 240 if we do reject there again.
So just a typical TP zone. So you guys decide what you do at a TP zone. Some people tighten up their stops, some take profit, some close the whole thing. It's all up to you guys. Okay. So just remember, these are typical reaction zones and they can take you by surprise. So it will hit the zone and you might say this time is different. And then all of a sudden you blink and it's 3% down and then you're not feeling great. So yeah, typical zones. Thank you, bro. Well done. Okay. Give us some, ooh.
Yeah,
no, I'm in this one already. Okay, so talk us through this.
Cool. So I've got kind of a midterm time frame chart here, and then I've got a higher time frame. So this is the 4 and this is the 12. Let's cover higher time frame stuff first, right? Somebody had asked yesterday in our chart hacker session, how do you do the 4 hour? Like, how do you determine like higher time frame, shorter time frame? RSIs are saying this on this time frame. So I told him, hey, look, I look at the higher time frame situation first, right? And so what we have is we have a bearish divergence with a blue reversal dot. Now, obviously, we haven't had that pullback yet. And the reason why is because Bitcoin had this rally. Okay, so Bitcoin had this nice little rally and Turbo followed suit. But if you guys were paying attention to Turbo yesterday, it didn't really rally hardcore like some of these other meme coins. And the reason why is from the lows of April 8th, we have pumped 371%. That's quite a lot of an upside move. So we're looking for a little cute pullback after such a massive move like that. And that's kind of the idea behind this. I've got an anchored VWAP. This is kind of an interesting anchored VWAP, but we are essentially having a hard time there. We have the 200-day MA here. And we also have this horizontal situation here, right? So you can see that we have rejected from this horizontal before. The other interesting thing too on this higher time frame is that typically I like to do a fib retracement from the last lower high before the big correction. So this was the last lower high before the big correction. Therefore, I drop a fib from that point to the all-time low. And I really like how the 618 hacker zone is where we are rejecting from. That's typically what happens. And that's exactly what I see with 𝗬𝗰, right? So I did join Dylan on that 𝗬𝗰 short, same exact thing. 𝗬𝗰 cannot get above the hacker zone here. There's a 6.5 fib there that we like to use. So looking at the 4 hour time frame now, so let's dial in with a magnifying glass. We have a hidden bearish divergence with a blue reversal dot. Okay, so now we have higher time frame saying reversal, and we're having a midterm time frame saying reversal. Okay, so how much of a pullback could we see here? Again, dominance is kind of high. If we have another unleash of the altcoins, this trade could be invalidated, but you guys can see I have a stop loss right above the hacker zone. So I would say, final stops would be a candle close above 0.00665. And, from where we're at now, that's a 10% pump, 8% pump, right? How are you going to play that? You definitely don't want to go 20x, right? Start off with 5x, 6x, and then whenever you see the rollover. That's where you can start to crank up your leverage and add more size and then catch the actual move, right? Now, where are some TP zones? You can see that we have a point of control right here. So I would say TP right here, right? Typically we bounce off a point of controls. And then we also have an area that I'd be more interested in, which is this anchored VWAP and bullish order block. Okay, so this is kind of where I want to take profits. I'm not really interested in taking profits here. I like to maximize on moves. So if anything, that is a 10% pullback there, right? So it makes sense. But I think this is where it's very likely and realistic for that pullback, which would be at around 0.0043. Okay, we'll probably see a little bouncy bounce here, and that could be it. That could be it. This could be respected here. Obviously, you can see this anchored VWAP is acting as support. We're not seeing any price action below that. But in the event that we do lose the anchored VWAP and we back test it, then I'm looking for this macro trend 618, 100-day MA, 50-day MA. That would be the banger, and this would be a 50% move in the cards, right? And that kind of makes sense because Bitcoin is at all-time high territories. And so if we do kind of pull back a little bit to the 98K region, what is that going to mean for Turbo? I don't know exactly, but there could be a bigger move to the downside there, right? And so you can see
I've got a very important question. Firstly, that's fucking excellent analysis, David. Well done. Okay, I got another very important question for everybody here. If I said to you guys, everyone watching the show right now, if I said to you, this guy once a week is going to come out on YouTube and do some banging shows, let me know how you feel. Because if you're not happy with that, he doesn't have to. Okay, so let me know. If you want to see this type of information on YouTube once a week, or, you know, maybe some more, let us know quickly in the chats. Okay. I mean, I could always just do that, you know, and he's gone. Okay. Like that. Okay. So let us know how you guys feel about that. Okay. There, look, see, he's gone. He's gone. Now he's back. Okay. Look at that. See, Syed says he needs Dave. Look, Kaminsky needs Dave. Yes. Okay. Make money, travel, enjoy says he's happy with Dave. Okay. You got a thumbs up there. Absolutely, from Tom. Okay, so guys, I'm just telling you, Hackers is working on something incredibly special. For the people that have been loyal to watching this channel and doing these things, I'm working on some amazing shit for you guys, and this channel is about to fucking explode. Okay, so make sure you are subscribed to this channel, okay? Trust me. Okay. Okay, let's go. S. We're talking S. Okay. Why am I short S? Why have I started an S short? So pretty much the same principle that you've seen with a lot of these other things at the moment. And it's just pushed into some big areas. And again, not saying it's going to zero. I'm also not saying it cannot pump any higher. But all I'm saying here is the TA that I use to make my decisions is telling me that we need to be careful up here, okay? And that is why I've now taken a small short on this thing, and I'm looking to add to the short if we get any pumps. So just to explain a little bit as to what is going on here, I've got a big resistance band over here. I've got a macro 382 in the way. I've got a bearish order block sitting in that zone. I've got a rising trend in the way. So I'm just looking for various reasons to tell me why this could be a bearish zone for us, okay? And in terms of what I'm looking at the moment, the 61 to 64 zone looks like a war zone at the moment on this S, okay? And what's this comment, Andrea? Is he's followed Dave? Oh, you see, Dave. You see, okay, you see. This is good stuff. And he's bullish, okay? So that's also helping. So, guys, the big zone for me, 61 to 64 is a danger zone. It's a short zone for me, or it's at least a rejection zone for S, and that is why I'm looking at a possible short. So with that in mind, okay, how do we exit this thing if we're wrong? What happens if the market pumps? What happens if we get this completely wrong and things start ripping? So what I would suggest is look for a candle close above 637. If the candle closes above 637, that could be a sign that they're going to try and pump this thing higher this weekend and into that type of region. Okay, 71, those types of levels. Until the candle closes above there, there's no reason to be like extra bullish on this thing because we are technically going to be longing it into major resistance. So just be super careful up there. And remember a couple of the pieces of the puzzle that I'm showing you. For example, that there's just a guide to tell you, you know, I'm not saying we're definitely going to go down, but I'm saying be careful at these areas. You can see what I'm doing. I'm looking for shorts. David's banged out a couple of shorts. I'm still holding a ton of longs that I'm going to show you. And I've closed a lot of longs. Okay. So that's your short zone. where can this thing potentially go to? Where's the next, the next potential bounce zone? So let's say we get a little secondary pump now today into one of these regions. You typically are just going to pull your local fibs from the lows to the highs, and you're going to look for some areas there where you can get some kind of take profit zone. So for me, using this current high, the areas that make sense to me, 568. And then I've got this big one here at 538. Okay, that makes sense to me over there, 538. Okay, so watch those areas, 568, 538. Those are possible zones where this thing could easily just drift to before there is another bounce in terms of S. Okay, so as 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗍 says, Dave had me at DJ. 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗍, hello, sir. I hope you are well. Sayed says, what is the spot buys for Sonic? Look, Sayed, it's a difficult one because ultimately you kind of want to just buy it when there's massive weakness, especially the leverage traders. I think spot traders, you can buy this stuff, but you need to decide, like, do you have conviction that these things that have pumped 30% now, 40%, do you have conviction that they can pump another 30, 40% from here? How are you going to feel if you buy it now and it drops 15%? Like, how are you going to feel looking at your red portfolio? So you need to make those calls. And that is why, look, I focus a lot on where I would enter trades on a leverage basis, because if you're trading leverage, you can risk a lot of money and you can lose it. So I try and focus on key zones like that. So that for me would be my downside plan on Sonic. You can see why I'm short there. And then let's talk about a couple of other things. So we had some absolute bangers this morning, but we've closed a lot of those. Dave, thanks for the turbo trade. I've got that thing started. It's now moving. You can see I'm still in Link. It's 130,000 plus. It's $160,000 long Link at the moment. Bitcoin, I've got a short running. Ondo, I've got a short running. That chart, I think, was on my show yesterday or the day before. It was also in Chart Hackers earlier today. And there's Virtual holding this for the Hail Mary, guys. We want the Valhalla play here, 2.6. I'm looking for that. In fact, Virtual, I've got a sell order at 2.56 to take profit, and I've got a short order at 2.56 to open a short. It's a little bit stupid, I know, but if we do get some euphoric pump this weekend, that is what I'm going to look for on Virtual. Okay, so that is what's going down there. And then this Virtual has been an absolute banger. And Dave, you saw this message. I actually dropped it before I shared Virtual on my show. I actually dropped it in our group and I said, OMF, this Virtual is about to arouse me. And I found it quite hysterical that somebody in the chats said, loving your Virtual, it gave me erections. I thought it was actually quite funny that it was working for all of us. Okay, so, here we are. Here's Virtual. What do we do now? And what is my game plan? So I've highlighted my average entry. It's sitting here, 1.48. Okay, I've managed to get a little bit of size on the Virtual, but nothing too ecstatic yet. And hopefully we're going to get an opportunity or a second bite at this to add some more. So first add zone for me is going to be somewhere in that region, 1.83. Just looking for this thing to dip a little bit lower. So 1.83 makes sense to me. Then we've got an absolute banger in the middle. And I don't know why I deleted this one. Our 0.5 and VWAP is really starting to look sexy now. Let's just get this thing up here. This guy over there, bang. Okay, look at that. Okay, so that looks quite fun to me now as well. We've got a VWAP pushing in to our 0.5 and horizontal. So that is another zone for me to potentially add. So anybody still trading this Virtual, if you're crazy enough to be sitting in it like me and not taking profits, that is my game plan. 183 add, 172 add, and then I've got the backup zone 162. Now my average entry is 148. So remember, every time you add, you got to add small amounts. You don't want to add too big because then your average entry is going to get ramped up. And at all times, you want to keep your average entry above a good support level. So for the sake of this thing, until it bounces, I'm going to try and keep my average entry under that 1.6 region. And then if we do get some kind of bounce, then I'm going to start raising it and adding to that position to try and increase the size and then take us to that 2.6 region. Now there's two TP zones here for me on Virtual, 2.43 and 2.63. So those are the two big ones that I'll be watching. And I've got a short order sitting at that region, somewhere over there on Virtual. Okay, so looking to push it into there, an announcement from Trump, some trade deal, absolute rip slaughter into that level, close the long, open a short, reject. That's the dream scenario. I mean, I don't know if it will actually happen, but that is the dream. That is the dream play. That's the thing us traders dream of when we are sleeping. Okay, Dave, Fartcoin, bro. Do you have any of that action?
I was teeing it yesterday, but I mean, that guy just runs on its own. Like, I was looking at a potential short and it's already kind of broken that trend. I think you've got a better handle on that guy than I do.
So the most bought token by Smart Money in the last 24 hours. Isn't this hysterical? It was the most sold token by Smart Money 2-3 days ago before we got the long. They'd pumped all the money into Popcat. Popcat's obviously ripped. Now Fartcoin is getting bought up again. And I've got some targets for you guys. Anyone want to trade Fartcat? I'm completely out of Fartcoin. Okay, I'm done with the trade. And you guys know my sentiment on this thing. I prefer trading Fartcoin because of the volatility when we get reversal signs on some big levels. I want to see divergences and those things. So right now, that's bearish. Okay, that doesn't look good to me in terms of Fartcoin. If anything, that needs to come down before I want to touch this thing with anything right now. Okay, so in terms of what could happen to Fartcoin in between all of this, we can see this is a little bit bearish. Okay, so if we do get a second pump, all it's going to do for me is probably push into this 1.5 region and look for a rejection there, and that should print some kind of spider web as well, some kind of spider web divergence, and that's just going to add to it and make it a little bit more aggressive for when it does roll over. So I'm going to wait patiently for some kind of pullback here. In terms of what we can look at now, if this is the top of this move, you keep it really simple, guys. You're probably going to start sniffing 1.16, somewhere in that region. I would probably say if you get a meltdown here, that makes sense, where you can start fiddling around, looking for a move, and just make sure you're tying that in with a reversal on the 1 hour at least, or maybe the 2 hour at the lows. Okay, so 1.15, 1.16, look out there. That could be a zone of interest later on. And then remember, this weekend, if there's a lot of action and these things all move, we're going to update you on Sunday. I'm going to be doing that show for you. And then Hackers, we do a private Zoom directly after that. And that is where Dave obviously joins me. And we do those fun weekly things. Now, Dave, you got another long opportunity with something with a massive unlock. Give us a clue.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been screaming this thing. And I was watching the chats yesterday. I mean, there was just so many setups and so many things happening. But I kept seeing this layer, and out of sight, out of mind, just not really thinking about it because there's just so many tokens out there. But somebody actually requested it yesterday during the session I had last night with Trader J, kind of ran through it and immediately was like, okay, whoa, this could be something. And so there's a token unlock on this particular guy. If you guys see my screen here.
Yeah.
We have an unlock in 1 day, 21 hours, and 32 minutes, and it is 13% of the entire circulating supply. So it makes sense why this thing has dumped so hard, but I can't imagine how many people think that they've nailed the swing short and they're just chilling. There's always some kind of impulse move to take those guys out, right? It's giving me those 𝗫𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 vibes if you guys were following me on that 𝗫𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 call. But here's what's interesting about this particular setup here. Okay, is I've taken a fib from the low to the all-time high here, and we are right at a 786, which is great. But then we're also on a point of control at the same time. We're also on a rising trend, and we have a daily reversal print. So the question is, when this unlock happens in a day, are those people going to sell it at a loss? Like, I don't know. Again, I just found out about this token yesterday, but what price did those guys get the tokens? And if, we've seen it before with these unlocks with like ENA or, Pyth, for example, like, a lot of people were thinking it's going to dump more, but, right before the unlock, we might see this crazy rally. Now,
priced in so often, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Priced in. So we're, a realistic deal here is I think we could bounce from the point of control up into the anchored VWAP, which is a 34% move to the upside. That's also value area high on the fixed range pull. So I've got an anchored VWAP drop from the all-time highs, and it's coming right in here. And so I think this is a realistic target. But if this thing is going to melt faces, then we could do a 618 retracement from the all-time high, which could be a 2x, right? So even if you don't want to trade this guy, this could be a simple spot play for those of you guys that want to just get in, hold the token, and then wait for a 50%, 100% pump and then sell it, right? So again, TA is looking nice based on the unlock information. It could be priced in. And so I've started a leverage long here personally, little low leverage long. And, just keep in mind that this trade will be invalidated if we lose point of control and the 786 and trend.
Just remind them what invalidated means.
Invalidated means the trade is not going the way we want it to.
No, Dave, it means you fucked it up. Okay.
You fucked it up and you got rinsed. You lost all your money.
You got rinsed, okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, there we go. Okay, so guys, that looks good. I'm in that too, Dave. So thank you for that. And the break shake. Okay, we call him the break shake in hackers. That's the panda, Arabian panda. He was also looking around at this one. So it's always nice where our traders get confidence with each other. It's always pretty exciting. So yeah, that's looking good. Thank you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Now, we're running out a bit of time, but I want to give you guys one or two more quick ones because I want to make sure you got tons of information, and I'm obviously going to drop these charts in hackers for you as soon as we are done here. This is Link. Obviously, it's relevant to me because I'm in quite a big Link position at the moment. And in terms of where I think Link can go, I think we go to the 200-day MA 17.5. That is my target for Link. I'm going to be out of Link at that region. I've got my TP set in that zone. I'm ready to exit that trade. So if we get a pump into that zone, I'm done with Link. Literally, it's going to turn into like a $50,000 profit, and we might buy another handbag. Okay, so that is what that is my plan for Link. Let's get this chart back up. I've lost it. There it is. Okay, so that is my upside target. In terms of, are there fresh longs for Link to potentially take advantage of this move? Well, it depends how this weekend goes, but what I can show you guys is there's quite a lot of support between 15.4 and 15. Okay, so you do have nice support. So if you get a moderate size bleed out this weekend or the next few hours, you can look for something around that region for a possible degen play on Link. Okay, so just play it by ear. You got to get the context of the market. Okay, and make sure you are seeing reversals on at least lower time frames. You can see that 8 is turning bearish, but you want to get lower time frame reversals. And I would say 15.4 to about 15 could be an area that you might want to start sniffing around at this weekend if we do get a bleed out. So just watch that. You can see my VWAPs coming up as well. So we're starting to build points of confluence in that type of zone. Okay, so there's Link, possible 17.5 left on that thing. And right now you can see broken trend, and that might be a retest over there. If it gets a little bit darker, I mean, it's not nice. 14.4, we're going to be bearish there at 14.4. The guys are going to be sweating. Okay, but yeah, so the Link handbag, bro, coming in hot. Okay, let's look at the next one. I've got AVAX for you. Oh, I've got Ondo. Okay, why am I short Ondo? Again, pushed into a big resistance zone. Look at that VWAP as well, sitting there, horizontals, whole lot of ton of stuff going on up there. And I really enjoyed the look of this rejection candle earlier today. That was a nice rejection when they hit that one. So now we are looking a little bit bearish on the 2 hour. The thing that is in its favor still is quite an elevated cash flow, but we can see this cash flow might be wanting to turn over a little bit here. So just a little bit of caution from that side for fresh longs. But in terms of what I think could happen this weekend, if we get a hard pump, I would say that's an opportunity for me to add to that potential short there and then look for that push lower down. Okay, so in terms of Ondo, we are in bounce zone number 1 already. So the scalpers and things like that, they are using this area already for long. So you've had that rejection, you're in your 236 bounce zone. So that is the level 1, but I'm expecting a little bit more. I'd like a little bit more out of it to the downside. And right now, I mean, I don't have concrete levels that tie in beautifully, but levels for me of interest, 98, 97, 94. Those look like the most, they make the most sense to me in terms of where this could possibly go. Okay, so that is how I'm playing that. AVAX, last one. Okay, last one. Same story, very similar to Link. There could be another AVAX push coming for you guys. How do you get there? Well, it's got to kind of climb the stairs, but you can see 25.7. That makes sense as a possible rejection region, even slightly higher. You can push that 26.5, even those types of regions. And then how do you get there? Well, you can see that's quite a, I mean, it's quite a bullish candle. And I would just be careful. You know, when you get those super strong candles like that, they often come easily and just wipe things out. So for me, I would watch 22 as a possible bounce zone this weekend if you get a bleed out. Alternatively, guys, take profit zone for me, 25.7 to 26.6 makes the most sense to me on the upside. Okay, there we go. So I think we have catered for the Bears and the Bulls. I think you guys are well set for the weekend. Panda will be doing some breakout trading in hackers this weekend, but there might be something special coming for the YouTube viewers soon as well. So yeah, lots happening here for you guys. Dave, thank you, sir. Enjoy your weekend. James, thank you, sir. See you guys later. What is this comment? My wife has upgraded from LV. Guys, what a banger. Okay, cool. Guys, have a good weekend. Be safe. Don't wreck yourselves doing stupid shit. Okay. Remember this.
Hi. Don't want to fight, but I just wanted to ask you, I hope you haven't invested very heavily in Bitcoin. It looks like it's going down.
Just enjoy it. Okay, guys. See you later.
I hope you haven't